Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Lonely Podcast weekly recommendations where I recommend the podcast, movie, and book of the week. So let's start. The podcast of the week is Roland Fryer tells the truth about race and policing in an interview with Bari Weiss. Roland Fryer is an American economist out of Harvard University, and he is the youngest African American professor to obtain tenure in Harvard's history. However, what started as an amazing career for a promising rock star academic turned out to be much more complicated than that. You see, Fryer had the audacity of publishing an article titled An Empirical Analysis of Racial Differences in Police Use of Force. Fryer was asking the following question: does the police use more force against black suspects? And in particular, does the police pull the trigger more easily on a black suspect? Fryer found that while it was more likely for a black suspect to be roughed up by the police, he did not see any disparity in terms of police shooting of black or white suspects, meaning that the black suspects are not more likely to die than white suspects at the hand of the police. So there are two very interesting aspects of this article. The first one is that it shatters the myth that black suspects are more likely to die at the hands of the police than their white counterparts. But the second one, which is even more interesting, is the reaction from the academia, the media, some of the members of the political elite of our society. After the publication of this article, Fryer, who was a beloved figure at Harvard, was pretty much ostracized from this whole community. Curiously enough, or not, Fryer had an investigation launched against him. The investigation concluded that Fryer had engaged in an unwelcoming conduct of a sexual nature with some of the students he was working with, and he was suspended for a period of 2 years. However, Fryer came back to Harvard in 21 and is still a tenured professor there. But putting aside the story of Harvard's reaction to the uncomfortable reality that Fryer exposed in his article, Fryer had an incredible personal story. You see, according to his own testimony, Fryer was living something akin to a double life. Well, on the one hand, he was raised by a very strict grandmother that insisted on the king's English to be spoken at home. He was also very much exposed and embraced by the other side of his family, who dealt drugs and got in troubles with the law and were arrested. Fryer himself had unpleasant interactions with the police as a younger man, and also saw his cousins getting arrested and being sent to prison by the hand of the police. Fryer mentioned that he has literally no one left from his family today because all of them are either in prison or were killed. Therefore, I believe he's such an important voice because of the uniqueness of the perspective that he provides, not only as a great and thorough academic, but also as a particular individual who came from these areas and knows what he's talking about. I highly recommend you to listen to this conversation between Roland Fryer and Bari Weiss, The Truth About Race and Policing. Movie of the Week, Dorian Gray. The Picture of Dorian Gray is an incredibly famous novel written by the Irish author Oscar Wilde back in 1890. And he tells the story of a young, beautiful man who had a portrait painted for him. And Dorian Gray is making a deal with the devil that he will not suffer old age, but that the portrait will suffer instead of him. So this novel was adopted to this movie and also to a play that is currently running in London. And I know this is a movie recommendation, but to be honest, you can either read the novel, watch the play, or watch the movie, and I believe that you're going to get more or less the same from this brilliant story. And the reason why I like this story so much, it's because it is so relevant for today. In a world of Instagram filters, of billionaires spending millions of dollars to maintain their youth, and of AI images generating beauty standards that are absolutely impossible to obtain, I think it's really important to watch this movie, read this novel, or see the play. If you ever wondered what is the cost of drinking from the fountain of youth, this story would explain it to you much better than I can. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Book of the Week, The Green Prince by Mosab Hassan Yousef. Mosab Hassan Yousef is the son of Sheikh Hassan Yousef, who was one of the co-founders of the terrorist organization Hamas. And Mosab had worked with the Israeli intelligence agency called Shin Bet as an informant for a period of over 10 years. Mosab was exposed to highly confidential information and was able to help Israel prevent multiple terrorist attacks throughout the years. And in this book, Mosab tells the story of what it means to be an informant. He also exposed his personal story of moving away from Islam and converting into Christianity. Mosab came back under the spotlight after the October 7th massacre in Israel and had been a very powerful advocate for the Israeli cause and against Hamas, which he holds completely responsible for the destruction in Gaza. The story of Musab is absolutely insane. This is a person that had sacrificed everything he had and went against his community and his family to seek truth and do what is right. He provides a very unique perspective for the inner circles of Hamas, how they think, how they operate, and why they are one of the most dangerous terrorist organizations in the world. The Green Prince by Musab Hassan Yousef. Okay, that's all. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week.